think we're going. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to the Inspire Life podcast. My name is Michael. I am your producer and co-host, and today I'm really excited to be interviewing Natalie Brandt, who has a story for us. I actually don't know much about your story, so Natalie, if you want to just start, introduce who you are, what you do, and we'll start with that.
Yeah. Well, first I'm going to say thank you to you, Michael, for just extending the invitation to me. I admire you and Dr. Mel with my whole heart. I love the way you guys both show up in this world with such authenticity and just intention and just that mission to really help empower others to live their best life. I really do think that you are doing so much good work in this world to help people really care for their mind, body, and soul, which is so important always. So thank you. But as far as my story, I won't give you my whole life story, but in a nutshell, right before I met you, I was finishing up a nursing career. So I'm a wife and a mom, and I am a nurse by trade. And I had actually specialized in oncology nursing. I was working specifically with neuro-oncology patients or brain tumor patients. And then I had transitioned into end-of-life work, which was very rewarding for me. And after I had my second daughter, I moved into a role where my job was to go out into public and talk about death and dying and dispel some myths around hospice work. And, as cheery as that sounds, it was actually very rewarding work because part of what I could do was make it less of a taboo subject and really empower people to have a say in how they lived and how they died. And while I loved my career, I had always felt a tug, like I wanted a creative outlet that healthcare just wasn't allowing me to experience. So about 2 years before I left my career, I actually started a business in skincare, which I find really rewarding. And probably on the surface, it doesn't seem all that creative, but for me, it allowed creativity with how I showed up in the world, how I interacted with people, and how I built relationships around me. But I think the key piece to my story is that, I did something really quite unconventional. I really colored outside the lines, stepped outside the box. I did something that maybe most people thought was, a little bit crazy. And in doing that, it really served as a catalyst for a healing journey for me to really find that I was doing, going to college, pouring myself into my career, being very successful in that because I was running from a lot of feeling. And there was a lot to feel. I lost my mom when I was 19 and I was a freshman in college. And I had just been running from feeling those emotions. And so when I put a stake in the ground for doing something different for me, something that wholeheartedly brought me joy, I began this healing journey of really starting to look within and decide what fuels my soul, what brings me joy, and following that. So it's kind of my story in a nutshell.
Yeah, well, that's powerful. And what I'm hearing is that you took kind of a leap too in knowing that what you were doing was fulfilling on some levels, but when it comes down to you and what you truly want to do when it comes to being creative and still helping people, because I know that's your nature, but finding more, I guess, flexibility and, like you said, being creative in that, you just kind of went for it.
I did. In fact, I called my husband from a field. I'd gone for a walk, and it was something out of a story. I was in a field, and the breeze was blowing. There were butterflies flying, seriously. And I was like, I think I'm going to leave my career. And he was like, do you think we should have a plan? And I had started my business at this point, at least. But I was like, no, that is the plan. And I drafted my letter of resignation, and I really felt like I was following my own intuition and my guidance. And, it really has been an opportunity to meet people like you and Dr. Mel doing great things in the world and figure out how I can use my business as a vehicle to make a larger difference that I feel that I'm called to do.
Yeah. Well, I'm really, really grateful that you made those choices and had that plan. because otherwise I don't know if we would have ever met. So
I know.
I want to, we'll talk about your business in just a little bit, but I do want to step back. You had mentioned going through the healing journey,
Mhm.
really going through a process of feeling those emotions and those feelings that were kind of being pushed away for some time. Can
Yeah.
you, do you have any insight, or how was that experience for you? And if anyone is maybe having similar feelings or needing to express, do you have any
Mhm.
tips or advice for them? Yeah,
Yeah.
what was your experience?
Okay, so I'm going to preface this with my advice is be gentle with yourself and remember it is indeed a journey, which I'm very much still on. Um,
Mhm.
it was like an awakening, is what I say. Like, I really realized, whoa, I have some deep feelings and I have some patterns around maybe some unhealthy coping that I've been doing just because what I knew was to keep going. I mean, I was a freshman in college, and so I was checking all the boxes and doing all the things, but now retrospectively, I see that I was just forging forward because it was something I could control and the feelings felt out of control. So as time has gone on, I've really just learned to be an observer in my own body and just say, okay, here's what's triggering me. I still have plenty of triggers. Here's what's triggering me. And really following that inner guidance of here's what brings me joy. Like, I can observe these feelings, but I'm not my past. It doesn't define me, and I'm moving forward, but it's imperfect. Like, it's the swirly twirly journey. It's not a linear, beautiful, perfect straight line. And as I've given myself some grace, I've really realized, like, this is a lifelong journey, and I've learned to find some joy in that. And I think what's been so powerful for me is being really open and honest about losing a parent, losing my way, losing myself when I left my nursing career. Not only was I pouring my energy into my business, but I became a stay-at-home mom, or a work-from-home mom, if you will. I have a flexible business, but still my primary job is to be home with 2 kids, 5 and 3, and I lost a little of myself. So I really think my main message is give yourself grace, allow yourself to feel all the feelings, whatever they are, anger, sadness, whatever it is, but then, like, turn inward and what rekindles that joy, and let that lead your everyday life.
That's such a powerful message, that the mindfulness around feelings and allowing them to be and to experience them, but then too having the perspective that there is joy and there is good within all of that, and that
Yeah.
focusing on that and finding that helps you, like you said, reclaim yourself, reclaim your, I thought that was off, reclaim your being. So I thank
Yeah.
you for sharing all of that.
And
And two,
Michael,
the
I
other
just
part.
want oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I just want to, acknowledge the work that you and Dr. Mel do, because it took me a long time actually to realize and name that losing a parent is a traumatic experience, and frame my mindset around the fact that so many of us have experienced traumatic experiences. It's not just going to war or some horrific experience. It's everyday things that all of us probably have experienced, and that it is traumatic, and we have to give ourselves grace to move forward. And it first starts with allowing ourselves to feel all the feelings.
Yes. Yeah, definitely having that grace. And like you said too, when you recognize that this is a traumatic thing that happened, and you're also, be willing to be vulnerable and put yourself out there and share your story and own it, that allows space for others to empathize with you and for them to start their own healing journey. So
Yes.
I thank you so much for just being willing to share your story, and being a light for other people to be able to follow if they're on a path right now that's not so bright. So
Thank
really quick, let's shift gears
you.
again. Can you tell me about your work with Rhode Island Fields and what you do?
Yeah.
Because yes.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, so I am a consultant with Rodan & Fields, which is a skincare brand founded by 2 practicing dermatologists. So I'm not a skincare guru. I don't claim to be. I am a professional listener, and I'm able to use my science background to really give people advice and allow them to feel empowered to make a choice about their skincare. But I am passionate about it because I've suffered, all throughout my teenage years and into my 30s with acne. So it's something I'm passionate about. I think the way that we feel on the outside, about our outside, really needs to match the way we feel about ourselves on the inside. So I enjoy what I do. But I do feel that I'm not just selling people skincare. Like, my job is to listen to them, and not just listen to them to sell them a product, but really help them feel comfortable in their body. And oftentimes a conversation about skincare can be really intimate, and I can often be that listening ear for someone who's struggling with other aspects of their life. And I feel really blessed to then have a beautiful network of people like Dr. Mel, where I can really empower people with resources because I have been blessed to know so many people along my journey. So it's a little bit skincare, but a lot of it professional listener. And that's what I love the most.
Yeah. And, with that, and like we mentioned earlier, like, you are out there to serve people. And just from having met you at BNI meetings so many times, and you've been around the office for our events and everything, you truly, like you said, listen and care and help people find what it is that can really improve their lives, And you mentioned too, our skin is the largest organ in our body, right? And a lot of times we will express externally on our skin things that are inside that we're maybe not dealing with. So being there to listen, to empathize with people, that too, just being that person that they can lean on, and you being there for them, that has effects too. So really, really grateful for you and what you do, and how you, again, help people really come into themselves. So.
And it's a big deal, especially, I love serving men too, don't get me wrong, but especially for women, really like listening to them and empowering them to make an investment in themselves, whether it's time or money, whatever their holdup is, to really talk through what that looks like for them, and really be that safe space to process. Sometimes the timing isn't right, but working through that and helping them realize, gosh, you know what, you are worth that investment. Is very rewarding for me, because that's been a part of my growth and evolution on this healing journey to realizing my worth. And I just love being able to serve women, specifically a lot of moms, in that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Knowing your worth and serving it, and committing to yourself too. A lot of important things that we, especially being a mom, like you said earlier, it's, my girlfriend has 2 kids too. And like, your identity is wrapped up in them for so long. So
yes, I struggled with that when I left my career. Like, my identity was so wrapped up in my career, and then I was like, well, who am I? And then it was like wrapped up in my kids. And so having this business has really been a catalyst to say, well, to really examine, who am I as Natalie? Not just a wife, not just a mom, but like that individual, and being able to help other women say, oh, who am I? Maybe I've lost my way. Who am I? And what brings me joy in this life is super rewarding.
Awesome. Well, you bring so much light and joy to so many people's lives. So I thank you. I have one more question before we wrap up. I ask this question to every guest. So if you've listened to the podcast, you may have heard it. The question is, if you could leave our listeners with one piece of advice, one piece of wisdom, just one thing, what would you tell our listeners?
You know what? I just listened to Jenny's podcast, which was so good, and I got interrupted by my kids right before this golden nugget question, so I didn't hear her answer. Okay, so my answer, I think, is to be authentically you, and to truly show up in the world being you, and not trying to always evolve to be someone else. Like, I so believe that we should always be committed to learning and growing and all those things, but truly just be you. I think when we show up authentically and show the mess of our life, I mean, I put my underwear on inside out today. Like, just be real. We're all humans. And it just allows us to better connect and to realize, gosh, we are on this journey together. And I think whenever I do that, I feel this like elephant come off of my chest. Like, I'm me. I'm not trying to pretend to be someone else, and I am enough as me. So I think the more people can tap into that and realize that they have beautiful gifts to share just the way they are, life is so much happier and fulfilling.
I love that message, and like you said, the more that we are just be ourselves and connect with ourselves internally, the more we are able to truly connect with people around us. So such a powerful message. I thank you so much. Last question. How can our listeners get in touch with you, whether it's to learn more about what you do with Verdant Fields, or, we might have to have another podcast episode where we talk about kind of hospice and death, because that's a topic that we'll get to eventually. And I want to interview again because, like you said, in our culture, there's such a fear around it where it's really a big and natural part of life that we should embrace. But until next time, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Well, I'm always happy to talk anything from birth to death, anywhere in between. I always have a lot of thoughts on that, and I'm happy to listen. But I think probably the best way, Michael, is my email, which is Natalie Anne, A-N-N-E, Brandt @gmail.com, or my Facebook page, Natalie Brandt. I'm always happy to connect. It doesn't have to be about skincare. It doesn't have to be about death. I love connecting with other people. I love hearing what other people are up to in the world. So absolutely, by any means, I welcome that connection either of those ways.
Excellent. And I can include your email too in the details of the episode. So if anyone wants to reach out right there, it'll be on one place. So, well,
perfect. And really, if someone out there is a mom or someone who's lost a parent or feels like they've lost their way and they just need someone to connect to, please know that my door is open. That's very fulfilling for me to just listen and create that space for people. So thank you for allowing me to share that, Michael.
Yes, and thank you for sharing the space and holding the space for people in need. So awesome. Well, thanks so much for being on the show today. To all of our listeners, as always, keep inspiring. Thanks, Natalie.
Yes, thanks, Michael. Bye-bye.
Hey there, did you find value in today's episode? We sure hope so. And make sure you like, comment, and subscribe.
Also, hop on over to Facebook and join the Inspired Living community. There, Dr. Mel and I share health and wellness tips to help you live your most inspired and thriving life.
And as always,
keep inspiring.